Welcome to the Back Office Shared Services webinar. I'm Susan Germain, and today I'll be talking with Anne Turner, Director at Cordner Ludeke at Robina on the Gold Coast. I'll be speaking with Anne about their experience of taking on a boss in-resourced accountant from Bangalore in India. With any new idea, we need to have innovators who are willing to take it on and pave the way for others. Partnering with Indian expertise is not that new in itself, but for small, medium enterprises and sole practitioner accounting firms in Australia, this solution to human resource issues might seem a little bit outside the square. So we're lucky to be talking to Anne today, who did take the plunge and who we hope is willing to share her warts and all experience about taking on a boss in-resourced accountant. So Anne, you've had Krishna working for the company for just over 12 months now, both in Bangalore and in Robina. How are you feeling about it all at this stage?
More comfortable than we did in the beginning, certainly, and quite confident that going forward it's going to work for us.
Why did you consider in-resourcing as an option in the first place?
A number of issues, and I think they're issues that most accounting practices are facing these days. First of all, accessing good staff, qualified staff who are prepared to commit for a reasonable period of time. The costs of actually employing graduates and a couple of year experienced accountants, extremely high. The volume of compliance work that we have to do these days, so the costs of dealing with the compliance work is getting higher and higher, so it's mainly cost-driven, but also continuity of staff.
Yeah. And could you explain briefly how this arrangement actually works, having an accountant working for you remotely in Bangalore?
Well, firstly, we don't see it as somebody working remotely. It's somebody just working in another office. I think that was the mindset that we had to change, and we had to change a lot of our systems to fit with that. So we just have somebody who works for us in another office, and we have the technology to make that a fairly simple process for us.
What sort of work does he do for you?
He's working at the level of any accountants that we'd be employing, up to 3 or 4 years experience in Australian tax. He's learned very quickly, he's very talented, and we're confident to give him any level of work at this stage.
What are his qualifications?
Chris is a chartered accountant, very clever young man. He's been working, has a number of years' experience, and certainly the year that he's been working with us has given him good grounding in Australian tax.
And how do you actually go about communicating with him on a day-to-day basis?
That was difficult initially. We had to have it work for us given the technology that we use. We use Skype, but probably email is the main method of communication. Chris understands English, he communicates written English perfectly okay. We have a little trouble understanding him, but I think that's something that's improving as time goes by. So email works for us.
Can you only pass on the more simple sorts of accounting tasks to him, or can you pass on messy work as well?
Well, initially we had a bit of trouble. We thought, do we pass on the messy work? Yes. And we all have messy work.
Nobody wants the messy work.
And I guess the systems then have to be, they've got to allow to pass on messy work, lots of bits of paper. So we weren't initially, but we certainly are confident now that we can throw anything at him as long as we can have the data transfer, relatively simple and efficient from our end, and we're getting better at that.
How does the error rate compare with that in the office here at Robina?
It's a bit hard to generalise. I think it depends on who you would have working for you. Chris is very talented. His error rate is very low. He's a very quick learner, and it comes down to adequate training and review processes which you would have with any accountant that you employ, whether it's within your office or whether it's sitting in an office somewhere else.
Yeah. How much review is required compared to work done in your own office?
Initially more, because we had to be confident that he knew he knows what he's doing, and also we were a little nervous because he hadn't had a lot to do with Australian tax. But certainly as time's gone by, we've become more and more confident, and he requires less and less review at the very low level, nowhere near as much as he did. But I mean, we do that with any of the accountants we employ anyway. Until you know what their capabilities are and what level of work they produce, you've got to review pretty closely.
And I know it's probably early days in terms of evaluating the bottom line benefits of having an in-resourced accountant, but I would like to touch on this nevertheless. What do you see as the benefits of having an in-resourced accountant?
Continuity of the resource, of having somebody working with us, hopefully for a long period of time, keeping costs down. The more efficient we become with our systems, the more cost effective it is for us, certainly. I mean, it's cost effective now, but it will improve as time goes by.
Yes. What's the extra cost of managing this relationship and of, passing work to and fro?
I guess the main cost is the time taken to prepare a file and to transfer the data. We work on a terminal server, and we have another server that we use. We call it the India server. We transfer files from our main server across to the India server, and we restrict access to certain information. We can control it that way. So it really is somebody just spending the time to scan, to transfer data. Once again, in the beginning it took a long time. Now it takes a lot less time, so we've developed efficiencies in our systems.
Yes. And still looking at that slide 5, in terms of retention, I know that that's an issue currently in Australia. Do you see that as being a benefit with Krishnaraj? Do you think he's attracted to, continuing to work for your company based in Bangalore?
We hope so. It's certainly because we're treating Chris as being a member of our team, we also want him to be happy with the position and to progress through, so have some sort of career path. So we see him being highly trained in Australian tax, knowing what we require, and so as we build a team in India, then he can be the one that manages. So we're not treating him any differently to what we would anybody working in the office here. So we understand that that's what he'll want as he goes through.
What was it like getting started with your remote accountant in Bangalore? In a previous conversation, I think you've used the term painful. Can you tell us a bit about that?
It was because we didn't know what to expect, and obviously Chris and his team in India didn't really know what to expect from us. So it was not only the normal issues that you have with employing somebody different, we really had to review our systems. I mean, it was a good process because we did review the systems and we did change them. Also, there was a perception, certainly with the other team members, we work as client managers, so they